What's up, guys? This is Mr. Eldridge. Today we begin our series on what I'm calling the ultimate review guide for AP U.S. history. In this series, we're going to look specifically at some details, overviews, themes, exam tips to help you score 5 on the AP U.S. history exam in May. Now, this can also be used for any unit tests that you might have, so definitely check this out. Also, be sure to check the playlist. This playlist will have all of the videos that I have on my channel for the Unit 1 content. It is more specific. There are quick videos. There are a little bit longer lectures where you can look and you can see what specifically you need to study for the AP U.S. history exam. So, let's get into it. So first and foremost, we have to understand that there really are, for Unit 1, which is from 1491 to 1607, there's really 4 key themes to look for, and that's what we're going to focus in on mostly today, is looking at those 4 themes for Unit 1. So first, we have to look at Native American diversity and adaptation. So prior to 1492, these cultures were developed through regions. So really when you look at, and for the AP U.S. history exam, when you look at the regions, there are really 4 major regions to focus in on. First and foremost, you of course have the Southwest region, which would include the Pueblo Indians and the Hopi Indians of the American Southwest. These cultures were diverse because you're going to see these Native Americans focusing on the idea of maize cultivation, as well as having permanent settlements in those higher deserted areas. Next, you have the Great Plains Native Americans, which when we talk about those throughout American history, we're really talking about the Sioux Native tribes. These tribes were nomadic, and they definitely focused on buffalo hunting, moving, following herds, and the like. In the American Northeast, you have the Iroquois and the Algonquin tribes. These were mixed agricultural tribes. They had hunting, they had permanent villages, and they really focused in on that idea of matrilineal societies. Finally, you have the American Northwest. This is the Chinook. They focus much on fishing. Of course, they're going to have totem poles, and they were settled communities. These native societies were highly adapted to their environments with complex political and social structures. Theme number 2 for Unit 1 of the United States History exam for College Board is European exploration motivations. When we talk about the Spaniards specifically, we are talking about the infamous 3 G's, if you will. That being gold, God, and glory. So let's break down those 3 things simply. Number 1, when we talk about gold, these conquistadors are coming to the New World looking for wealth through trade and conquest. They're going to go in and try to find, the infamous city of gold. They're looking to find new lands. They're looking to take over and being able to use their weapons that they had to be able to take over these societies and looking for the wealth that could be attained through conquest. Next, of course, you have God. The early beginnings, especially of the Spaniards, was this spread of Christianity, especially Catholicism. And you look at the writings of Bartolomé de las Casas, you look at the writings of Juan Sepulveda, you look at even the letters of Christopher Columbus that he wrote in his diary that we now have. You look at those and you can see that the idea of religion, the idea of spreading Catholicism is going to play an important factor in that. Finally, you have the notion of glory. This idea of national competition and personal fame is going to drive people. This competition aspect of these conquistadors, these explorers, wanting to go from one location to the next location to the next location to attain more wealth, more fame, more glory is going to play a key factor. The next theme of Unit 1 is the idea of the Columbian exchange. There is this exchange of goods, people, animals, and then of course diseases between the old world and the new world, and vice versa. So to give you some examples, you can see Europe to America exchanges included horses, cattle, wheat, and then of course the infamous smallpox that devastated Native American populations at such a high rate. From America to the old world, or America to Europe, we're talking about corn, potatoes, tomatoes, and then of course the cultivation of tobacco will play a significant factor. A massive population loss for Native Americans, and the European population boom is going to be able to shift. The economics is going to be able to shift. European populations, you're going to see a stark increase due to the fact of the nutrients through corn and potatoes and tomatoes that would be able to increase their population size and their population density. We really see European nations really begin to grow and flourish at this point. The next theme for Unit 1 has got to be Spanish colonization and the infamous encomienda system. Now, as you hopefully talked about in class, encomienda is the modern translation has to mean something around the idea of a land grant. These conquistadors, these developers are going to be able to receive large portions of land, and their responsibility was to be able to develop it. And the crown of Spain was looking to be able to colonize large parts of the Americas. Of course, we're going to see the Treaty of Tordesillas. That's going to kind of change the way of and the how between Spain and Portugal, who's going to control what lands. But when you look at conquistadors like Cortez and Pizarro, they conquered the Aztecs and the Incas in those vast swaths of land. But the encomienda system, the Spanish crown gave land and native labor to the colonists in exchange for the idea of Christianizing them. Of course, this is often going to lead to exploitation. This is going to lead to abuse as we begin to see this caste system that is going to be developed between the differing groups such as mestizos, mulattoes, zambos, and others. You also have the debate between two major people, as we've previously mentioned, but Bartolomé de las Casas and Juan Sepulveda. Bartolomé de las Casas advocated for better treatment of natives when he writes about the destruction of the Indies, but Juan Sepulveda defended the harsh treatment as he said that these people were being civilized in a nature. And so the idea of if they did not convert, then the maltreatment that was going on would be almost justified to an extent. The final theme for Unit 1 of the College Board Key Concepts really gets into this notion of resistance and adaptation, but also an introduction into the African slave trade as it begins. So the resistance happens through natives beginning to fight back against the Spanish crown, against the what's called the encomienderos. And so it led to armed conflicts such as the Pueblo Revolt. You can check out the video here on that. But it also led to cultural preservation with those people, as well as these groups beginning to develop strategic alliances as they work to fight against the Spanish takeover. But because of the high rate of death with smallpox, because of the armed resistances and others, you begin to see like really truly the beginnings at the end of Unit 1 of the American slave trade. As native labor declines due to this disease and resistance, Europeans increasingly turn to African slavery to support plantation economies, especially in the Caribbean, especially in places that we know of today, but modern, places like the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Puerto Rico, and others. Now, to end this video and to end all of these videos, we're going to go through and just give you some dates, things to keep in the back of your mind, trying to keep things chronologically together for each unit, okay? So we're going to go through that right now. So the first important date to understand, of course, is 1491, as that is considered the beginnings of Unit 1. And this, of course, is the pre-Columbian era. Native societies are flourishing. 1492, you have Columbus's arrival to the New World. As we say in my class, let's not use the phrase discovered, because that's like me discovering your wallet in your back pocket, okay? 1519, Cortez begins the conquest of the Aztecs. Of course, in 1550, you have the Valladolid debate. Of course, the Valladolid debate was in 1550, and it is the first true debate regarding the treatment of native tribes and the indigenous peoples of the New World. And then the final date to make sure you know, of course, is 1607. 1607 is the founding of Jamestown. And of course, this ends in the unit and the start of English colonization. So one major exam tip that I would give you when taking the AP exam is making sure that you focus on being able to do comparisons within native groups, comparisons, especially when we get into Unit 2, about European powers. Understanding the idea of causation is a huge portion of this class. Knowing why something happens. It's always great to know what happened, but it's more important for the AP exam to know why did something take place and how things stayed the same and how they are different over long periods of time. Hey, thank you so much for paying attention to this video. I hope this was helpful for you as you study and prepare, not only as you prepare for your unit exams, but also for the AP U.S. History exam in May. Thank you so much. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you like this. Send this to your friends. If this is a help to you, it can be a help to them. Thank you so much. Have a great day.